Eddie, thank you so much for joining us today. We met at a conference a couple months ago, and I thought your topic is so valuable for retail investors. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. So, I've been in commercial real estate for the last 20 years. I started in the industry, of course, as many of us do, with residential, and I quickly realized it was way too emotionally driven for me. What the husband wants, the wife wants, what they can afford, what's on the market. Not all of those pieces of the puzzle can come together exactly when you want them. Plus, my husband was consulting, and so I had the opportunity to travel on the weekends. And of course, that's when everybody wants to see houses. So I quickly stalked a company or companies, explored industrial, office, and retail until I found that retail was a great fit for me. Having been in the background of promotions and nightclubs and restaurants, I was able to pull in the relationships of those industries into the work that I get to do on a daily basis. So my team and I focus on restaurants and local retailers and positioning them for growth in the market. And then conversely, we work on behalf of local owners and property owners who really want to shape their communities, preferably downtown walkable communities or even master planned communities that lean into incremental retail.
That's great. Obviously, we all know that retail is changing and it's a lot more service oriented today. And I think it'll be even more moving forward as people just want to buy things online. I don't want to buy my shoes at the store because, first of all, they don't have the selection. And second of all, I don't want to try all of them and then at the store and have the guy go and come back with the shoes, right? So it's a trend that I think, commerce is not going to be really there. But yes, so services, we have to. So how do you when you work with owners, how do you help them have a diverse amount of service providers that they will all um, be, work with each other well in terms of what they provide so that they are all thriving in that center?
We do an evaluation of the local community and understand what's really missing. If there's already an Italian restaurant in the market, we really don't want to step on anybody's toes. The worst thing to have is a new shopping center or a new downtown walkable community. And immediately the first thing that pops up is a duplication of what's already there. So we really take the time to get to know what the community is asking for, attend local meetings, talk with economic development. It is common for us to just stop people on the street and say, hey, we're going to be working on a project that's coming up, and we really want your input, because the more the community feels like they are part of the process, the more they're going to welcome the project with open arms. We've actually had conversations on behalf of multifamily developers to say, let us go and work the community early, because if we can, do an activation or a pop-up or a farmer's market on the site before you build, chances are we can get goodwill from the community and they'll be excited for us to potentially capture some of those vendors from the farmer's market and put them in a permanent space. And so we really want to get to know the community and speak to what's there, because there's nothing worse than someone coming in from outside and saying, my Italian is better than your Italian. And, we're just going to see who wins. That's not a good way to garner goodwill when you're coming into a new community.
That is so brilliant about the pop-ups. Can you elaborate on that and how do they work? Because sometimes water is involved and all of that. So please,
Sure.
how
Yeah.
much effort would it take from the owner of the property for these
Yeah.
pop-ups?
I think a lot of it depends on how much time we have, because at the very beginning, right, you've probably got a property under contract and you need to go through the approval process. So really we're working with the current owner of the property and not our future client that's going through the approval process. So it is up to the current owner if they are receptive to dealing with us and letting us activate it so that there is positive momentum. And it could be something as easy as like a shipping container park. It could be a food truck
Mm.
park. And really those, investments are picnic tables. Maybe there's an existing space on property that we can leverage bathrooms for. Or it just might be a farmer's market where we're not necessarily providing bathrooms, but really just creating a gathering space that people can come out on. And you can activate it on something as small as a half an acre or an acre, but it really just depends on what that timeline is. a lot of the folks that we work with on the multifamily side and helping to advise them on the retail component, are leaning in the direction of having anywhere from 12 to 25,000 square feet of retail. And really, that is a good critical mass. Of course, we're going to assess what else is in the community and hopefully be able to leverage and be respectful to what's there. But if we're coming in and there's really nothing around us within a 10-minute drive, 25,000 is that magic number that we really would like to see in terms of a retail component. And I know a lot of times multifamily developers are pushed to do retail and they don't want to, they don't get it, they don't have pro formas for it.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, they end up pro formaing the space too high. It really should be an amenity, just like the fitness studio, just like the pool, just like any walking trails around it. Because if you have the right retailer or cafe at the base of your apartment building, those tenants upstairs have an opportunity to make a friend, maybe a future spouse or partner or business relationship, and they're more likely to stay a second year and a third year. And you don't have to start all over and try to find a new resident because you've created a sense of place, a sense of community, and it's a much nicer place to be in.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely cool to have something like that in a community. That's 100%. Um, and in terms of the pop-up, from I recall in our conversations, you also help a lot with getting the word out and, throwing the events and getting musicians there. Can you elaborate on what can people do today to get the word out about their pop-ups to
Yeah.
the community?
We had an opportunity to consult on an existing space that was vacant retail at the base of an apartment building. And what we did is we brought in a couple of groups that do like small artist markets. And so anywhere from like 6 to 8 art vendors. So it could be, jewelry or ceramic mugs, really just an opportunity for an existing apartment that's already open with residents in it to come down and enjoy like a community gathering opportunity where, again, residents have an opportunity to meet one another. A lot of people are working from home and are moving to other parts of the country that maybe are a little bit more affordable, but yet because they're working from home, they're really not having a ton of opportunities to socialize and get to know their new community. And so having community managers in the apartment buildings that are able to create space and offer these folks the means to get to know one another, again, you meet a neighbor, you make a friend, you're more likely to stay a second year and a third year. And so we've been able to work with a lot of these apartment owners and their community managers to create these events. So maybe we're working with a local restaurant group and bringing them in to get them some more exposure, or letting them know, hey, we do takeout or we do delivery, and you should really try this amazing Mediterranean restaurant that's right down the street. But again, sometimes people get in their little bubble and they don't know all the things that are around them. So we've been able to do like little walking tour maps. We've done little artist markets that bring people in, like a wine tasting or a mocktail class, just things, again, to help educate, but also to encourage people to gather. Because as much as you were just remarking about retail online and not wanting to go to the store, there are certain activities that I think do truly bring people together. That's, doing an art project together, painting, doing a cooking class together, and opportunities for education and also shared experiences. So I think those are really important avenues to create a sense of belonging and community, to help people realize like you're not alone. Sadly, Surgeon General's warning said we are the most lonely we have been in our entire existence. And I think, while I love my phone and all the technology that is in my pocket, we really need more of this, Stephanie.
Oh, agree 100%. And it's funny, sometimes I see friends that they're not lazy themselves, but like they don't want to go out. They just want to stay in. And I'm like, no, you have to go out. Let's go. So hopefully that does not become a trend. In terms of retail, what are some trends that are happening today that maybe not everybody may know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think small is the new black. I've been encouraging, even though I make more money when my clients are bigger, right? Because my deal is based on a commission, on a percentage of the overall deal. I don't care. I want the clients forever, and I want to make sure they're successful. So I'm trying to encourage them to be as small as possible, because the smaller you are, the sooner your cash flow, the sooner we can contemplate number two or number three or another state. And so that's really where I've been pushing people to go, because you walk down anywhere internationally, if you travel, I mean, the best little shops are like little hole in the walls where you kind of, you just meander into them. It's not, a Walmart, it's not a Target where you've got all this massive, basically warehousing space. That's not where people are encouraged to be curious. They're encouraged to
Mm.
be curious if there's a small space and it's thoughtfully merchandised, and you just find, the cutest little notebook, or the most amazing, like, fountain pen or something of the like, that you're going, oh, wow, I really would have never thought of this. But now that I'm here, I'm having this experience, I really am going to invest in a fountain pen versus disposable pens.
Yep, that is very true. And as far as other retail things that you do in particular, because what you do is not common and is not out there, what are some of those things regarding your job in particular that make you different than others?
Of course. Well, we were sitting at dinner, I want to say about a year ago, and my kids go, "Mom, you have competition." I said, "No, I don't have competition." And my husband goes, "Edie, that's not right. You do have competition." I said, "Okay, I'm sorry. I take that back. I do have people who do what I do, but they don't do it how I do it." So
Mm-hmm.
because we end up working with a lot of emerging brands, women, minority owned brands, we take over their PR and get their name out in the media. So when they engage with us, we get them in the headlines. Our external PR team interviews them about where they're looking to grow, why they're looking to grow. And we get the little tagline at the bottom that says, if you're interested in learning more, obviously contact Edie and her team. And so I think what that does is it allows us, to help them get exposure. In fact, I had a client of ours who I got a position to speak at a conference, and I said, "Oh, well, I really want you to come be on my panel." And a woman after the conference comes up to me. She goes, "Edie, I hear you're the conference whisperer." And I said, "Okay, sure, I'll take that." But really, it's just about our clients having exposure. And oftentimes they're so busy in their business that they're not able to work on their business.
Yeah.
And so we're able to help kind of give them additional exposure, not only helping them with the business that they have and helping them grow it, maybe if they need investors, or we create brand books for our clients. And so we really want that story to be told, because sadly, all too often, there's landlords who might not be local. And so we don't get a chance to meet them in person and truly understand the connection between the tenant and the landlord. And so we put together a brand book, which has pictures of, the intended space. It's got the bio of the owner slash operator of the restaurant or shop. It's got pictures of them, doing work. Some instances it has, items on the menu and describes those items on the menu. And so really gives you an opportunity to understand who is going to be the tenant in your space. And I think because we really make their lives easier if they have to go report back as a landlord to investors or real estate committee, basically they're just handing this over, and we
Yeah.
make their lives so much easier. For me, I just want to get as close to yes as possible. The sooner I can get to yes, the happier everyone is.
Yes, to the landlord,
Yes,
correct? Okay. But you also work with the landlords as well as a different kind of a position,
sure.
meaning you help them fill their centers.
We
Can you
do.
talk a little bit about that for
Yeah,
our operators, for
of
our
course.
investors?
Yep, all of the above. So when we're working on behalf of either real estate developers, multifamily owners, or office owners, we're really focused on, sure, I have no problem doing a deal with Chipotle and Starbucks, but most of the properties we work on are local walkable communities, and they don't need, and Chipotle and Starbucks don't want to be in these communities because it just doesn't have the reach, unless they're, already grown so much and they're ready for this opportunity. But most of the local owners that we work with are here in Georgia, or in their respective markets. And they truly want to understand and put in business folks that are speaking to the community. Because the reach of a local restaurateur, when you walk in there and you see their kid in the back rolling silverware, and you can understand where you as a consumer, perhaps, or even as a landlord, where those dollars in the local community are being spent. They're going back into those local mom and pop businesses. In fact, there's a gentleman on Twitter who only buys unanchored strip centers. And he said, my favorite tenants are, the hair salon, the barber shop, the nail salon, the local restaurant,
Hmm.
the dentist, because they're truly taking care of the local community. And if everybody is happy, they will be there for eons because they're taking care of the community's taking care of them. In fact, what you saw, I think, post pandemic is that the businesses that survived were the ones that the local community cared for and took care of. And so I think there's
Mhm.
really a special place, and those are the types of owners that my team and I really enjoy working with.
That is super interesting. Well, is there anything else with regards to retail today from an investor and operator's perspective that you think would be important for our audience to know?
Yeah, I just say don't give up on us. I think inevitably things always change. But for me, in working with master plan communities, landscape architects, urban planners, when they draw in retail, it's always in red, which means to
Hmm.
me that retail is the heart of every community and it brings everyone together. I really wish that bankers and lenders didn't forecast how we needed to develop across the US because we don't need a medical campus here, an industrial over here, an office over here, and residential over here. Not saying I want industrial right next to residential, but there are some of those assets that really work well together in the right setting. So, yes, retail, office, mixed use, entertainment. I think that the more that we come together, the more that we can grow and improve.
Oh, absolutely. And everything you said makes sense and it's true. I lived in a high rise before and having that place that all the neighbors can gather and meet each other, you do end up staying longer, like you were saying, because of the your friends that you made and potential partners. So you are 100% correct, and hopefully we can change the trend with these bankers and multifamily developers so they understand it better.
Absolutely.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming over, Edie. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Absolutely. They can find me at Terra Alma. That's TerraAlma.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, not quite Twitter, but website is pretty in depth and offers a lot of opportunities for good resources and good reading.
And you also started a podcast as well. You please share here so retail investors
Absolutely.
can follow.
Of course. Yeah. The podcast is currently called Hustle and Heart Conversations with Culture Creators. So we offer both our clients as well as prospective clients and just local amazing business owners the opportunity to come on and share their stories. So we've had singer songwriters, we've had paint artists, we've had farmers on, we've had chefs on. So really helping get their stories and exposure out there to understand that they're the ones who are shaping our culture for the better.
Very cool. Well, all of these links will be under show notes. Thank you so much for making the time, Edie.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me.